Am I the jerk for refusing to give my late husband's possible affair baby any money? My husband passed away almost 3 years ago, leaving me a solo mom of an 8-year-old. I've learned a lot about who he really was since then. Let's just say that if he were alive, we wouldn't still be married. About 6 weeks ago, a process server showed up trying to serve him with a court order to submit DNA for a kid. I gave him a copy of the death certificate and sent him on his way. Shortly after that, a woman shows up on my doorstep saying that the kid she had with her was my late husband's child. Is it? I don't know and I don't care. It kind of looks like him, but also looks young enough that they would have had to have been conceived very, very shortly before his death. I told her that he was gone and where she could find his grave. She almost immediately started demanding her half of his estate. I laughed and told her that half of nothing was nothing and she was welcome to that. Where I've been informed that I might be the jerk is that while it's true there was no estate, there were assets that passed outside of probate. One of those assets was a rental property that his parents gave us years ago, deeded with him and I as joint tenant with rights of survivorship. In short, it became mine when he died. I've already sold it, and that will be the money that sends my kid to college. Legally, I'm good. Already talked to my attorney about this. While I feel bad for this child, I also have a child of my own to look out for. I'm going to edit this to answer a few questions that I've gotten. No, there was no will in place for him. In my state, intestate inheritance laws say that if the only heirs are me and my child, then the first $50,000 of the estate go to me and my child gets half of what's left. If this does turn out to be his child, then half of the estate would go to me and half to the children, i.e. my child would get 25% and the other child would get 25%. However, that is a moot point because his estate was literally an empty bank account and $40 in cash. Everything else passed outside of probate. A good estate attorney is worth every penny, even if I never could get him to meet with her to do his damn will. There was no life insurance. Yes, I'm in the US and my child is receiving survivor's benefits. They aren't huge, but they do pay for the therapy bills. He hadn't worked for a vast majority of our marriage, but luckily did have enough credits to qualify. At this point, I'm not opposed to helping the other child receive the same benefits since it won't affect mine. However, my attorney has recommended to hold off at this time because we don't know what she's planning. She assures me that if the other mother files with Social Security that they will backdate any payments to at least the date filed. So holding off won't affect the total amount if it does turn out to be his child. I have no idea if she knew he was married at the time or not. My husband's parents are alive, but our relationship is strained, at best. I haven't told them about any of this and have done my best to let them keep believing that their son was a saint. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, downvoted NTA for having nothing to offer. But you are definitely the AH for referring to this child as an it, like he or she isn't even alive to you. How hateful. That child is innocent. Completely innocent. And they are a person who did literally nothing to ask for your cruel dismissiveness of their very humanity. OP. I'm trying to maintain some semblance of privacy here by not referencing whether it's a boy or a girl. I live in a small town and the rumors are already flying. Commenter 2, NTA. And for what it's worth, that's not a terribly uncommon scam for some reason. If you still have the papers, I'd look into if they were even legitimate. OP, they were. That's the first thing my attorney looked into. The working theory is that she really didn't know when she filed. Why she waited so long is anyone's guess. Commenter 3, NTA, you owe her nothing. Info. Other than her word, do you have any proof that he actually did sleep with her? Do you have any other reason to change your opinion about your husband at this point? OP. I haven't found anything definitive that he was sleeping with anyone else. But I did find out that he was hiding a drug addiction and lying about a lot of other things, so it's possible. OP clarifies on the possible estate. OP. When I say there was no estate, I mean there was no estate. We had separate bank accounts. His was empty and there was $40 in his wallet. It's still there actually. He didn't work, had no life insurance, and was generally uninterested in handling financial stuff. There was nothing else that wasn't jointly owned or solely in my name. Deleted commenter. NTA, but keeping a rental property would have been a better choice than selling it and letting it sit in a bank account for a decade. OP. That place was an albatross. It needed thousands of dollars worth of work, and I just didn't have the bandwidth to be a landlord at that time. It's actually in a brokerage account, so it's not losing ground to inflation. Does OP or her child qualify for survivor's benefits? OP. My child does receive benefits, but not nearly that much. It's enough to cover their therapy bills. My husband hadn't worked consistently in at least 10 years, but thankfully did have enough credits to qualify. Update 1. I posted here several months ago and thought I'd make an update now that almost everything is settled. So, it is his child. Or at least there's enough shared DNA to determine that my in-laws are the grandparents and there's no way that it's their other sons. The biggest update is that the mother doesn't currently have custody. I'm still a bit unsure of the timeline, but there might have already been a CPS case open when she first contacted me. She's apparently a fan of the same illicit substances that my husband was. That would explain how they met. Unfortunately, that means that the child is now in foster care. My in-laws were not deemed an appropriate placement, and I won't do it. I have been working with the caseworker with regards to getting Social Security benefits for the child. In my state, survivor benefits offset any child support obligations, so even if there was an estate, the SS benefits most likely exceed the amount he would owe based on his work history prior to death. This has an effect my own child's benefits. I still haven't determined exactly what I will do with this information going forward. I have set aside some money in an online savings account, but it's still in my name. Until the mother's rights are completely terminated or the child ages out of the system, I don't want anything that would possibly give her access to it. I will also eventually have to tell my child that there is a sibling out there. I've been through the ringer over the last couple of months, and I'm still just so fucking mad that I'm still cleaning up my husband's mess. Relevant/top comments. Does OP's husband have any siblings that could take the child in? OP. There are 2 siblings, both out of state. His brother is single and in the military and isn't a good option. His sister is, let's just say, militantly child-free. There are a couple of cousins that might be suitable eventually. I'm really not sure what's going on with that process because even though I'm friendly with the caseworker, I'm also not related to this child, nor am I a licensed foster provider. So there are limits to what she can tell me due to privacy. Why can't OP take the child in? OP, I won't go as far as calling them a burden, but I'm in no position to take on another child and have taken measures to prevent that. I already feel like I fail my own child on a weekly basis. Commenter. Wow, I can't imagine how hard this has been for you. And I'm so sorry you're dealing with this. You're not just managing the fallout of your late husband's actions, you're also being incredibly thoughtful about protecting your child and this other child's future, all while trying to navigate your own emotions. I think it's really commendable that you're ensuring the child gets the Social Security benefits they're entitled to, even though you're under no obligation to do so. Setting aside money for their future is above and beyond, especially given the situation with the mother. Keeping it in your name until things stabilize sounds like the smart and safe call. When the time comes to tell your child about their sibling, I hope you have support to help navigate that conversation. You've already shown so much strength and grace in a really unfair situation. Don't forget to give yourself space to process everything. You deserve peace after everything you've been through. You're doing amazing, even if it doesn't feel like it. Story 2. Am I the jerk for kicking my ex out of his daughter's birthday trip after he kept insisting on bringing his stepdaughter? For the last few months, I 32F have been planning my daughter's, Rose, fake name, 13th birthday. For her birthday, I have been planning a week-long trip to Greece. Rose has been obsessed with Greece for the longest time and has been begging to go there forever. And now I have finally saved up enough to give her a special birthday. The problem, however, is with my ex, Alex. Ever since I started planning the trip, he has been pushing for me to invite his stepdaughter, Mary. For some context, Alex and I broke up a few years after Rose was born due to cheating during the pregnancy. We lost touch for a year or two before he came back asking to be in Rose's life. I agreed to co-parent with him, and things were going well, all things considered. That is until he got married to his new wife, Sarah, who already had Mary from a previous relationship. Sarah and I get along really well, and so do Mary and Rose. The issue is not with his new family, but with Alex. Ever since he got married to Sarah, all his attention has gone to Mary. At first, I understood. He needed her to get comfortable with him being her new dad. But it has reached the point where he barely even puts any effort with Rose. He has missed several of her important competitions and events, as well as her birthday, just because he had to take Mary to the dentist. Or Mary needed someone to pick her up from school. Or he wanted to take Mary to the movies. All are excuses he has actually used when I confronted him about his absence in his daughter's life. I should clarify that I have no issues with Mary. I love the kid. But my issue is with Alex acting like she is his only daughter. I have talked to him about this several times, and he always uses the excuse that Mary needs a dad too, before telling me to stop acting selfish and to appreciate he was in Rose's life at all. While planning for the birthday, I didn't invite Mary and Sarah deliberately so he could spend time with Rose on the trip. I did ask them beforehand if they were okay with it. Mary doesn't like traveling anyway, so they both agreed to not come. Alex, on the other hand, has been refusing to accept this and kept pushing for me to invite her anyway, saying it will be good for the girls to hang out. I have been refusing to budge, and it all came to a head last week when I asked Alex to confirm the dates, and he said he wasn't coming unless I invited Mary. I obviously said no, but he didn't back down. I finally had enough and told him that if he wouldn't come unless Mary came, then he shouldn't bother coming at all. He tried to argue, but I haven't spoken to him since then. He has been blowing up my phone, but I honestly don't have the energy to deal with him. Some of my friends have been calling me asking why I uninvited him and saying I was acting like a bitch. My mom agrees he was being unreasonable, but also said I was being cruel by kicking him from the trip entirely. My sister, however, agrees that he shouldn't come at all. I was very sure of my decision before, but now I am starting to think I overreacted. I don't want Rose to think he doesn't care enough to come at all, but if I agree he will spend the entire trip with Mary, I know he will because he has done it before, and I don't think that is much better for Rose. Everyone is divided, and I need to be sure whether or not I am overreacting. Am I being the jerk here? Edit. I was not expecting so many comments. I didn't expect this to get as much traction as it did, and I am having some trouble answering them all, and I won't be online for long. So I hope this answers your questions. The first I am seeing is that my ex is Mary's dad. That wouldn't be possible. I have met her father. She looks a lot like him too. Does my ex have bad intentions with Mary? I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I think he thinks of her more like the daughter he has always wanted. They also share many interests. Are Mary and Sarah okay with all this? No. They have been trying to convince him to let it go, but my ex is very stubborn. I also asked them not to be involved so the drama would die on its own. Is this what Rose wants? She really wanted her father to come. She loves the man a lot, but I will ask her since it is her trip and her choice. Would she want Mary to come? Yes. Rose looks up to Mary and the two get along. Even without my or Sarah's involvement, they are naturally friends. If you have any other questions, I will try and find the time to answer them. For now, thank you all for the support as well as the valuable advice and insights. I feel much less stressed about this. I will have a chat with Rose and update you all when I can. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. Are you paying for him, and is he expecting you to pay for Mary, too? Not that it matters, but I just wonder if he will try to show up with her. To be honest, he sounds like a real douche that would do something like that. If you now don't have to pay for him, why not invite your mom? Having 2 generations of strong women who won't put up with an asshole might be a great vacation for your daughter. OP. I am paying for everyone since it was my idea to go. My mom and sister were coming originally. I might just make it a girls' trip to avoid the drama. Why is OP's ex/Rose's father going on the trip? OP. He had missed a few of her birthdays prior to this. I wanted to make it up to her. He is also her father, and it seemed unnecessary to exclude him. My mom and sister are coming as well, so it wasn't going to be just us 3. Commenter 2. I 100% agree with you. This trip is about his daughter, not his stepdaughter. Ignore everyone else. He's made you and Rose very aware of where she stands. I'd send him a message, then block him TBH. Please stop getting other people involved. This trip is for your daughter, and the fact that you are yet again putting someone else above her is crazy. You are extremely selfish, and she will remember this for years to come. Now she is 13. I will leave it up to Rose whether she wants any contact with you going forward. OP. I might actually use this because I don't have the energy to articulate myself and even bother arguing with him. Thank you. Commenter 3. Why are you making so much effort for him? I've seen your comments on things you do to enable your child to have a relationship with him. All kids deserve parents, but not all parents deserve children. He's a deadbeat. If he wanted to, he would. But he didn't. He's a terrible father, and you definitely didn't overreact. Lose the man in the trash, and friends who agree with him as well. NTA. OP. I guess I just really wanted my daughter to have a chance to know her father. I am starting to see now that it may have been a mistake thinking that he was the father she needed. OP should let her daughter, Rose, decide on what she wants. OP. She wants her father there because he had missed her last few birthdays. I just don't want her to go through her birthday feeling second to Mary, especially when they have a good relationship. But I think either way she wouldn't be too upset, mostly because she is more glad to be going to her favorite place. But I will have a conversation with her and let her decide. Update 1. Hello again. Reddit. I wasn't planning on updating, but since we're heading to Greece tomorrow, Rose asked me to share an update for those who were interested. Here it is. I hope those curious about how things turned out are able to see this. Here is some context for anyone who needs it. Original. A lot has happened since my last post, so I'll try my best to explain everything clearly. This might be long, so I'll start with a summary for anyone who doesn't want to read the full story. Sarah found out about Alex's cheating in our previous relationship, and after her hit her, they're getting a divorce. Mary and Sarah will be joining us on the birthday trip. I'm filing for a legal custody agreement and child support. Alex's insistence on bringing Mary to Greece was so he could one-up Sarah's ex-husband. Now, for those who want the full details. After my last post, I called Rose's therapist for advice on how to approach the situation. Following his advice, I sat down with Rose, explained everything, and even showed her the post. I reassured her repeatedly that none of this was her fault and apologized for making decisions without coming to her first. I told her to take her time processing everything and let her know I was ready to listen whenever she was. I am glad I did so because a few days later, Rose came to me with her thoughts. Giving her time to reflect really helped her articulate herself and think everything through. She decided not to invite her dad on the trip, but was against cutting him off completely. While I initially disagreed, I respected her decision and didn't push the matter. We discussed a lot of other things, but I'd prefer to keep those private. I also suggested family therapy, which she agreed to, and I've booked sessions for next year. She will still be going to individual therapy, and so will I. I hope that it will help us communicate better and also help me with making better decisions in the future as her mom. By the end of our talk, we shared a much-needed cry, which, I admit, I initiated, hugs, and then watched Mamma Mia. Side note, to the commenter who suggested the movie. Thank you. Rose and I loved it so much we watched the sequel the same day. It was the perfect choice to get us excited for the trip. We are thinking of watching it again by the end of the trip as well. Now, onto the drama. I reached out to Sarah and invited her over to talk about Alex. I showed her the post, including the comments concerned about Alex's relationship with Mary. While I didn't share those concerns, I wanted Sarah to decide for herself. As she read the post, she got to the part where I mentioned Alex's cheating. She was confused and asked what I meant. I explained how, during my pregnancy, I discovered texts and pictures from other women on Alex's phone. When confronted, he admitted to cheating because he wasn't ready to be a dad. That was why we broke up, and he disappeared for a while before returning to be part of Rose's life. Sarah was furious. According to her, Alex had told her I cheated on him, and that's why he wasn't involved in Rose's early years. According to him, it was because he wasn't sure if she was his. Hearing this, I was livid. I've never been with anyone other than my ex, romantically or otherwise. Between raising Rose and building a career, I never had the time. Alex's lie didn't even serve a purpose since Sarah and I had always gotten along. After our conversation, Sarah assured me she was going to talk to Mary and confront Alex. A few days later, she called me while crying, asking if Mary could stay with me for a while. I checked with Rose, and she was fine with it, so I agreed. From what Sarah told me, she confronted Alex about the real reason we broke up. During their argument, Alex was furious, possibly drunk. It is unclear, and hit her. Sarah had a visible bruise on her face when I arrived. I was and am still shocked by this. Alex had never been violent during our relationship and never even showed any signs of being violent. I am still having trouble believing it's true, which I feel really bad about considering how he left Sarah. A huge chunk of her face is swollen and bruised really badly. He didn't just hit her, he punched her really hard that she said she thought he knocked her out. Sarah doesn't have family nearby, and Mary's father is away due to his job as a pilot. So, Mary has been staying with us while Sarah handles the situation. After hearing about what happened, Rose invited both Mary and Sarah on the trip, which is incredibly kind of her. My sister canceled anyway since she couldn't secure a sitter and didn't want to travel with the baby yet until she is older. So it will be me, Rose, Sarah, Mary, and my mom. It was the same amount of people who were coming originally, so I didn't have to make new accommodations for them. As far as I know, Sarah hasn't made a report or anything yet, so Alex hasn't been arrested. As for why Alex wanted Mary to join the trip, his mom unintentionally told me everything. About a week ago, she called asking to see Rose before we left for the trip. I wasn't really keen on the idea, but I agreed as long as Alex wasn't there. During our visit, she rambled on about how Sarah's family made Alex feel unappreciated, how Mary didn't call him dad, and how Sarah's ex-husband was always showing him up. Basically going on a rant about her poor son who everyone is against these days. You heard that right, folks. This idiot was doing all this not because he cared about either of the girls, but he wanted to be better than Sarah's ex. I am honestly still freaking pissed when writing this. He ruined his relationship with our daughter and used Mary to make himself look better than Mary's dad. I don't want to believe that it's the case and that I am misunderstanding, but it is something Alex can and has done before. I even talked to Sarah about it, and she agreed this might be the case. Although it is just a speculation based on what his mom has told me. It is the most likely case since Mary has denied him being inappropriate with her. I have cut off Alex, his mom, and told Rose we can revisit seeing him only after I have a legal custody agreement and child support. Both can take a long time, which I am grateful for. I am hoping it will give Rose some time to think more about her relationship with her dad. Sarah has filed for divorce, which I am helping with. She and Mary have been through a lot. Thinking about how this whole thing started, it feels so silly. It's been a mess, but that's the update. Thank you to everyone who supported and advised me. Your insights were greatly appreciated. We're looking forward to our trip, and I'll be focusing on giving Rose the special birthday she deserves. Top comments. Commenter 1. I never liked Alex since the first post and now can't stand him even more. He's a horrible person and I hope he loses everything. I'm glad you and everyone else are doing well, all things considered. Have a wonderful trip. Commenter 2. I'm glad you're there for Sarah and Mary. You're a good person. Commenter 3. Definitely not the asshole. It's your daughter's birthday trip, not a family vacation. Plus, it's important for your daughter to have special one-on-one time with her father without any distractions from step-siblings. Good on you for standing your ground.